Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles, and I have a bit of a confession to make. I've been very, very bad at Jingles. I had planned to do a big old episode of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly today, and then I started playing Diablo 3. Yeah. Oops. So, it's going to be a quick video today because this is all I have time for, but I will make it up to you, I promise. And this is going to be an amusing video, I can at least guarantee you that. This is the Pegasus box, and he is in the OI Experimental. Remember, this is the Japanese Tier 5 heavy tank that will do 40 kilometers per hour and weighs 100 tons. And he's in a Tier 5 match. And he's one of only 4 Tier 5 tanks on each team. Yeah, it's... Look at him in chat, rubbing his hands together and laughing evilly. And that's an entirely appropriate reaction to have if you find yourself in this tank with this kind of matchmaking. You know, recently I've been asking myself, what must it be like for people who are new to World of Tanks? They sign up with a fresh account, they start playing their Tier 1 LOL tractors, and they have lots of fun. They have no idea what they're doing, but it's fun. And then they get into their first Tier 2 game, and they're getting farmed for kills and epic medals by the professional seal clubbers in T-18 tank destroyers. They get into their first Tier 3 game, and the BTSVs and Panzer IIJs are making their life a misery. They get into their first Tier 4 game, and hello Matilda. And then they get into their first Tier 5 game, and tanks like this are running around. The whole issue of power creep in World of Tanks, and it's not just, new players. There are tanks that I used to absolutely love playing. Tanks like the premium Matilda, the Matilda 4, the premium Tier 5 medium, the Soviet one, and the premium Soviet Churchill Mark III as well. Used to be very, very strong tanks in Tier 5 games. Do you think anybody driving an OI Experimental is going to be afraid of a Mark III Churchill or a Mark IV Matilda anymore? Yeah, I don't think so. And it's not just these new Japanese tanks. I mean, this isn't a new issue for some of the tanks that used to be quite good in World of Tanks. This problem's been around for a while now. Remember when they introduced the new German tank destroyers? The new Tier 5 German tank destroyer? The flak toaster with the 88mm gun with nearly 200mm of penetration? Do you think they're afraid of the armour on Churchill 3s or Matilda 4s? I really don't think so. There's his first kill, by the way. You'll notice that almost half of, well, more than half of his team is dead at this stage, and that's the first time he's pulled the trigger. But this is where things start getting quite amusing. Well, I say amusing, you say completely and totally predictable, because he is in the OI Experimental after all. Top tip: if you're in a T-67 with 48 hit points and there's an OI Experimental driving towards you, drive around him or away from him, not into him. There's his second kill. There will be many, many more. Our Cruiser 4 on the hilltop up above? Yeah, doesn't really care about the Cruiser 4. Let's count the number of ways this tank is completely overpowered in a Tier 5 match. For a start, 300 average damage. Secondly, 70mm of armour. And that's the side armour, right? It's slightly tougher at the front. Thirdly, it's only Tier 5. I mean, you're going to get people in Tier 3 and Tier 4 tanks in these battles who have probably only been playing World of Tanks for a day or two at the most. Guys like the M2 Medium and the Cruiser 4 who just sat in front of a tank that can end them in one shot and waited for him to reload. Also, despite the fact that it weighs over 100 tons, it will do 40 kilometers per hour. Apparently, the Japanese fueled their tank engines with magic pixie dust. Well, anyway, Pegasus box is on 4 kills. There's plenty of enemy tanks left, so there's a potential Radley-Walters medal up for grabs here. And unfortunately, the rest of his team appear to have stopped dying, so it doesn't look like he's in the running for a Kolobanov's medal as well. But hey, that would just be greedy. So let's see if we can get him a Radley-Walters. What is there on the enemy team that can actually hurt him? SU-85B's got a decent gun. Unfortunately, he has less than 300 health, and Pegasus box's gun does 300 average damage. But watch this. Watch how he handles this Durchbruchswagen and the Su-76M. Puts a shot into the DW2 and then auto-aims him, locks the turret on him, and keeps going. Pedal to the metal. Su-76M can see it coming, he's trying to back off. Look at that. There's a certain confidence to his gameplay here that you only really get when you're in an OI experimental in a tier 5 match and you're one of only 4 tier 5 tanks on each team. But if you thought that was showing off, you haven't seen anything yet. Just watch what he does to this Stug. The gun's loaded. The Stug is a one-shot kill. And he doesn't even have the decency to shoot him. That's just cruel. So, there's Pegasus Box in the OI experimental in a tier 5 match, getting the world's least surprising Radley-Walters medal. And Steel Wall, and High Caliber, and Top Gun, and, you know, and so on, and so on, and so on. Have a look at the damage done. He did just short of 2,000 damage, which is 4 times the amount of damage of the next highest scoring person on his team. And none of this is even slightly surprising. Just about the only thing on the entire enemy team that really posed a credible threat to him was the M10 Wolverine, who also did a fair amount of damage, but unfortunately the Wolverine kicked the bucket before he even got the chance to set eyes on the Pegasus Boxer's tank. So, well, there was only really one way that match was ever going to end, wasn't there? So, I mean, it may have been kicking puppies. In fact, what am I talking about? There's no may about it. It was totally a case of a guy in a big, overpowered tank kicking puppies, but he did it with style. You've got to give him that much. The way he handled the Dirk Brukswagen, the Su-76M, and in particular the surviving Stug right at the end. Yeah, Pegasus Box, you may be a puppy-kicking git, but you're my kind of puppy-kicking git. Keep doing what you do, or at least keep doing it the way you do it, because that was very amusing to watch. Thank you for sending that one in. Still, at the end of the day, it's a guy in an OI experimental, overpowered tank, in a tier 5 match where he's top tier, getting himself a Radley-Walters medal. Nah. But how about in a Matilda Black Prince? This is Trogdor, and he's in the Matilda Black Prince. He plays on the North American server, as you'll be able to tell when the match commences, because the chat is mostly civilized, unlike on the EU server. And, yeah, the Matilda Black Prince. It's not a very good tank, is it? In fact, let's not beat around the bush. It's a terrible tank, and I'll explain why. It's as if they looked at the tier 4 British Matilda medium tank and they said, what's good about that tank and what's bad about that tank, okay? What's bad? Well, it's really, really slow. Okay, we're going to make it worse. We're going to put a heavier turret on it. So it can only do 22 kilometers per hour. Now, what's good about this tank? Well, when it's top tier in a tier 4 match, its armor's really, really good, okay? Well, we're going to take that away as well by making it a tier 5 tank. So now the armor's nothing special whatsoever. It's like they have quite literally taken everything that's bad about the tank and made it worse, and thrown away everything that was good about the tank. And that's the Matilda Black Prince. Oh, Jingles, that's fighting talk, that is. I love my Matilda Black Prince. It's a good little tank. No, it isn't. Just because you like it doesn't mean it's good. It's a terrible tank. There are all kinds of tanks that I love that are absolutely crap. The TOG 2, for example. But the difference is, I don't go around telling everybody the TOG 2 is a good tank, because why is he not shooting that T1 Heavy? Do you see that? Perfect side shots of the T1 Heavy sitting silhouetted on top of the railway embankment. Just drives past, doesn't bother shooting. His first shot takes out the tram car, which gives him a clear line of fire on the Stuart over there. What was I talking about? Oh yes, the TOG and bad tanks. Yeah, the TOG 2 is terrible. It's just not a very good tank at all. But it's fun, and I don't have a problem with that. And the Matilda Black Prince kind of falls into that category as well. It's not a very good tank, but there's absolutely no reason you can't like it if you have fun driving it. And Trogdor definitely seems to like his Matilda Black Prince. God knows why. Oh, there's that T1 Heavy. He's now come over the railway tracks. Here we go. Come on. Put more coal in the boiler. You can almost imagine the driver rocking backwards and forwards in his seat, trying to make this thing go faster. And there goes the T1. The OI experimental finished him off. Okay. Well, at least the Matilda Black Prince has a better gun than the regular Matilda. It's got a 6-pounder gun rather than the 2-pounder, and that was the whole point of putting this turret on top of this tiny little infantry tank in the first place, so it could fit a bigger gun. Well, that's true. Except it's not a better gun. In fact, it's worse in every category other than alpha damage. The 6-pounder gun, 75 alpha damage. The 2-pounder, 55. Other than that, it's worse in every single category. Just watch this. Now, admittedly, he doesn't have an awful lot of this M8 to shoot at, but he's fully aimed with every shot he fires, and every single one of them either misses or bounces, and most of them missed. Compared to the Tier 4 Matilda, it has worse accuracy, worse penetration, worse aiming time, and a worse reload. It also has significantly worse damage per minute. The Matilda Black Prince manages less than 2,000 damage per minute on a good day, assuming every shot hits and penetrates, which is unlikely because it's less accurate and has less penetration. The non-premium Tier 4 Matilda has over 2,600 damage per minute, even though it only has a 2-pounder gun. It has a very, very good 2-pounder gun. The Matilda Black Prince has a very, very bad 6-pounder gun. So what was the point in putting this turret and this gun on the tank in the first place? Well, they only made one of them, and they realised it was a terrible idea. So that's why they only made one of them. All of which brings us back to Trogdor. Not a particularly good player in a terrible tank, which is what makes this all the more remarkable. Accidentally kills the T-28 as he's shooting at the medium 3 over there. Then spots the T-67 on his flank. I will say that the Matilda Black Prince does have good turret traverse, however, and that's what makes this possible. So he's on 5 kills, and then the T-82 decides, screw it, you deserve a Top Gun, and tries to ram a Matilda. While he's sitting there laughing his ass off, he takes a hit from the artillery, which very, very nearly finishes him off. And then he does waste a couple of shots trying to shoot through this damaged gun shield on the wrecked Valentine AT in front of him. And I have to admit, if I'd been sitting in this position and I could see a clear shot through that split in the gun shield, I would have probably wasted a couple of shots there too. But you can't actually shoot through it, and he does eventually figure that out. And he closes in to try to finish off this BT-7 artillery, even though it's not actually artillery, it's a BT-7 with a howitzer. Realises that the BT-7's on the other side of a brick wall, gets a little bit closer, he's looking for the ass end of the BT-7 sticking out, there it is, and bang, there we go, tracked him, BT-7 stuck with his turret on the wrong side of the wall, can't return fire, and bang, there you go, kill number 7. He's one away from a Radley-Walters medal in what has got to be one of the worst tanks in World of Tanks. There is just no justice in the world, is there? But that's what makes this replay all the more remarkable. He's not a very good player. He quite cheerfully acknowledges that in the email that he sent in. He cheerfully admits that this game was just a mess from start to finish, and he has no idea how he came out of it with the Radley-Walters medal, but there it is. Radley-Walters medal in the Matilda Black Prince, one of the worst tanks that you can get in World of Tanks. And Trogdor, who is not the world's greatest player, still somehow manages to get a Radley-Walters medal in it. I can just picture Trogdor standing up for his acceptance speech as he is awarded the Radley-Walters medal. I'd like to thank the enemy team for being so bad. In particular, the enemy T-82 tank destroyer driver, who could have killed me but instead decided he was going to give me my Top Gun by ramming a Matilda in a T-82 tank destroyer instead of shooting me. So thank you to the T-82, without whom this Radley-Walters medal would not have been possible. So there you go, today's video. 2 Radley-Walters medals, one in the OI Experimental, which probably surprised absolutely nobody, and the other one in the Matilda Black Prince, and I'm still trying to figure out what happened in that match. But yeah, there you go. The Pegasus box and Trogdor. Congratulations on your Radley-Walters, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Take care, folks, and I'll catch you next time.